welcome to another episode of the Anfield Road Walls in Focus. It's Cop Talk 1892 here again. Thank you for all the feedback I've received recently. I think the highest amount of votes I've ever had on a poll the other day. And obviously I asked you guys what you wanted for this episode. I think when I first started, probably about a month ago now, I think the most I got was 30 votes. We managed to get 355 votes this time, so for all your love and support, it's really helping. In fact, it's just making sure that I get the content out there that you want to hear me talk about. So today, what you've actually asked me to talk about is where does Keita fit in if we are to sign him? And I say if because I'm not taking anything for granted. I'm also going to do two out of the things you voted for. So you also voted for, is Andrew Robertson the right fit for Liverpool left back, which I'll obviously discuss. And then I've also had a question given in by actually one of the Anfield Road Walls themselves, which is great, asking me what I think about Liverpool's goalkeeping situation, which I think a lot of people are going to find me quite controversial when I talk about it. But that's football. It's opinions, as I've always said. So we'll crack on with our first bit, which is where does Keita fit in? Now, if we are to sign him, obviously there's a lot of rumours going on this week that we are going to make an offer. I've seen Leipzig's president saying that he's not going to sell. I think personally every player has his price, and I think Leipzig would actually be quite silly if they don't sell him for the 60, 70 million reported fee, especially with they then run the risk next year of losing him for 45 million and potentially Bayern Munich taking him, which I know is the last thing any German club's going to want, really. I think if we do offer that, around figure of 60, 70 million, I do think Keita will leave leave Leipzig to join Liverpool, and that's something that I really do hope happens. But then you've got to think, if we played the same system we played last year, which was obviously the 4-3-3, which sometimes changed to a 4-5-1, which of those midfield positions does Keita fit in? Now, when I look at Liverpool's midfield three, is usually the one holding and the two of the sides, obviously, that bomb on. I think last year, obviously, at the beginning of the season, you sort of had Henderson as the holding. You then had Lallana and Wijnaldum next to him, or Chan as the attacking one, as we saw against Watford when Chan scored the header. So that's what we had. Towards the end of the season, obviously, Lucas played the holding role and Chan was given a licence to bomb on. And it's one that, if we are to sign Keita, where would I want to see him play? For me, he's not the holding midfielder. Out of the three, he's certainly not the holding midfielder. I've looked at some of his stats again just to make sure that what I'm saying is correct for you guys. I haven't watched him in as many games as I would have liked of. I probably watched about 5 or 6 Leipzig games last year. The benefits of paying for BT Sport, really. Dribbling wise, averages three dribbles. It says here a game, which I've seen him do more than that in a game. But 8 goals and 7 assists certainly shows that he loves to get forward. So I wouldn't necessarily trust him in that holding midfield role. If you're then asking me, out of the position and the three central midfielders that can play that holding midfield role, which I believe is Chan, Henderson, or Lucas, who would I rather have? For me, it's Jordan Henderson. Fantastic energy, gets up and down the pitch, more disciplined, knows the Premier League probably better than any of the other players, including Lucas in my eyes. And also he's got that ability to make that long range pass, and he sees the vision. He plays passes forward more than any of the other ones do. So for me, Henderson has that defensive midfield role. So then obviously Keita would have to take one of the attacking roles. So that leaves one attacking role left. Now, if it is true about Philippe Coutinho dropping back into central midfield, for me, he'd have to take that other role. But that obviously means dropping out Lallana, Wijnaldum, and Chan. One of the main things, I think, when we discussed about that, a lot of people have said, well, we don't need another central midfielder. We certainly do with the amount of injuries we had last year. We still don't know how Jordan Henderson's injury is going to hold up. He could obviously be out multiple times during the season. So certainly it'd be great to have Keita in. But for me, Coutinho takes the other central midfield role. If he isn't to play central midfield this year, I think a lot of it will come down to the opposition that we play against. Now, we all know that if you're playing a team that's deep, i.e. a Burnley team who just sit back and sort of invite us on, you'd probably be better playing Lallana because he can operate in tight spaces. But in terms of if you're playing one of the big boys, I think for me it's Gini Wijnaldum for his energy. Last season, some of the goals that he came up with, he scored against Chelsea, he scored against Man City, he scored against Arsenal. He scored in some big games, Wijnaldum. He was a big game player. And for me, I think you'd be playing him more against the big teams, and you'd be trusting Lallana more in and around the box against the little teams who try to keep things nice and tight. But that's where I'd see Keita playing. On the right side, probably the attacking three is where I'd like to see him play. So moving on, I'm going to talk about Andrew Robertson now. So there's a rumour, again, it's another rumour, unfortunately, Reds. It's a rumour that we've had an £8 million bid offered. And it is strong rumours that it looks like he's going to be the man joining us at left back. Is he my first choice of a left back? No, I think I would have rather have seen Mendy, but obviously that's money permitting. And I think I'd probably rather have seen Kieran Tierney from Celtic. But again, it doesn't look like any of those deals are going to happen, and it does look like it's Robertson. Now, for me, I think it's always risky when you look to buy a defender from a team that's been relegated, because at the end of the day, that team's conceded more goals than what most teams have, and there's a reason why they've been relegated. Left back, I know, is slightly different because it's not your centre backs, but still, for me, you're still part of a defence that got relegated. So I thought what I'll do is, let's bring up some of his stats. Now, I don't base everything on stats. I'm someone that likes to watch a player play. And in fact, sometimes you can be heavily deceived by stats. But what I've sort of tried to do is I've tried to compare Andrew Robertson to James Milner, as a lot of people have been saying that obviously they don't want James Milner at left back. For me, I don't want James Milner at left back, more for the fact that, not that I don't think he can defend, I think it's more for the balance of the team. I think we need someone that can play the ball down the line using their left foot rather than having to cut in on the right. It just became too predictable in the end. So in terms of some of the stats, now, this is graded as such. So Andrew Robertson played 31 games last season. James Milner did play 36 for ourselves. And this is just Premier League as well, by the way. In terms of tackles, Andrew Robertson had 1.6. This is obviously per game. James Milner, 2.6. Interceptions, Andrew Robertson did have 1.7. Milner had 1.2. Fouls, I'm not really going to take into consideration, nor of offsides. But then even when you look at clearances and dribbles, Milner actually beats Robertson full on, apart from blocks, which probably is going to be correct anyway, because the amount of times Hull had to defend compared to Liverpool probably speaks volumes. But for me, James Milner's actually beaten Robertson in most of these stats. So really, is Robertson going to be the right man at left back for Liverpool? Now, in terms of aerial duels, he wins 0.3 of them. So really, we think when you take it into consideration, we'll probably say that's about 30% really. So out of every 10 balls in the area, he loses 7. Liverpool last year, as we know, had a difficulty in terms of defending big men. Swansea scored 2 goals through Llorente. Crystal Palace scored 2 goals through Benteke. So we obviously struggle to deal with big strikers, and I don't even need to talk about corners. We all know what happens with Liverpool when it's a corner. Not that corners comes into consideration that much for this, but I just think for a player that's not going to win much in the air, doesn't have great stats defensively, was part of one of the teams that conceded the most goals in the Premier League last season, including shipping 7 against Tottenham at home. I don't think Andrew Robertson is Liverpool quality. I really hope he's another player that Jurgen Klopp can just mould and make better. But for me, I don't think Andrew Robertson's the right fit. I'd love to be sitting here in 3 months, 4 months' time, if you do sign him, eating my words. I just think it's going to be another left back potentially for Liverpool that can't defend. And I think since the Premier League era started, we're yet to have a decent left back. So that's my stance on Robertson. Now, the one question I've been asked is about the goalkeeping scenario at Liverpool. So as David Wagner at Huddersfield has come out and said that Danny Ward will not be going back to Huddersfield. I do think that's one that might happen a little bit later on, if it does happen. But really, in terms of what I think this pre-season is going to be a battle. I think after last season, and this is where the controversy comes in, I do think Simon Mignolet should be and deserves to be Liverpool's number 1. Why do I say that? Well, last season I went to many games at Anfield, and as much as he's made some mistakes in the past, which he has, he gets a bit unfairly treated sometimes. I mean, I sit in the Kop end for Liverpool, and every time, if he hesitates over throwing a ball or kicking a ball, the amount of stick I see him get, or even if he goes to get the ball from behind the goal, the amount of stick I see him get, it's actually quite uncalled for, and he deserves a bit of support now. Last season, he was part of the reason why we actually qualified for the Champions League. The saves at Stoke to give us a 2-1 win. Say the penalty against Chelsea to keep it a 1-1. I think we had 4 clean sheets in 5 away games towards the end of the season. He's a big part of that, and actually, I was really impressed by his ability in the end to come and punch a ball from a corner correctly. And I think for the last part of that season, there should be no reason why Liverpool are looking for any other goalkeeper to be number 1 this season. For me, it is Simon Mignolet. And credit where it's due, he's came on leaps and bounds. It's taken him too long. I will agree with that. He probably should have gone last year. but he didn't, and now he's proved it, and I think he deserves to be where he is. So then it comes down to the battle between the second goalie, Karius or Danny Ward. For me, Karius did not fulfill me with any confidence really when I watched him last season. I think he still looked quite scared and hesitant, and I'm hoping maybe the cup games gives him a good chance to sort of show his worth. But I think, if I'm completely honest with you, I think it's going to be a straight shootout between those two, between which one goes out on loan. I think if Danny Ward's proves to be better than Karius in Klopp's eyes, or the other way around, one will go out on loan. I don't think any of them will be sold. I think it will be loan deals with a callback clause, just in case obviously anything happens to Mignolet or Karius. But I do think it's a straight shootout between those two, and I actually wouldn't be surprised this year if it's Karius that goes out on loan. I think Danny Ward gets better and better each time I watched him. In the playoff final and the semi-final. Actually, he really impressed me. And I actually back him to probably overcome Karius this year. And it's not too much of a big loss. We didn't spend too much on Karius, and he is young. But I think a lot of people need to remember goalkeepers don't actually really become peak until they're around the 28, 29 age. So plenty of time for him. Maybe he could do with a loan deal to a Premier League team or a Championship team where he can get some good football in, and not really going abroad. But I'm hoping to be proved wrong again. And we'll see what happens. But for me, Mignolet number 1, Danny Ward number 2, and Karius number 3. Apart from that, that's actually the end of the In Focus episode today. Keep giving me your feedback. Ask me some questions. If there's anything you want to talk about or anything you want to ask me, feel free to comment. There's a few questions obviously asking me about, is there a YouTube channel? There is. The Anfield Road Wolves do have a YouTube channel. It will be on the Twitter page, and obviously this will be on YouTube as well. Subscribe to us. We really want to build up the YouTube, obviously, for yourselves. We know how big it is today, and if that's what you guys want, that's what you guys will get. And obviously, please make sure that you listen to every podcast we do. And if there's anything further that you want, just tweet me. This is all about really what you guys want to hear. And obviously, like we say, football is a game of opinions. Make your own mind up on what you want. Apart from that, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day. Remember to follow me on @CopTalk1892 and give the official Anfield Road Wolves a follow as well. Thank you very much, and you take care.